Good morning, Mountain Life Church. How are y'all doing? Good, good. That singing was amazing. It always feels weird to come up here and preach after an amazing worship set. I'm like, what do I have to say that you guys didn't already just sing? But I'm grateful to be with you nonetheless. I don't know if you know these names, Orville and Wilbur Wright. Have you heard of these guys before? The Wright brothers. They put North Carolina on the map. Thank God, right? They're known to be bicycle mechanics, got really fascinated with the idea of flying through the air. Not really the engine side of it as much as the control side of it. And in 1903, powered the first flight, 12 seconds, 120 feet. 3 more flights later that day, Wilbur finally had a flight that covered over 852 feet in 59 seconds, and humans started being in the air. However, after their invention, they sent a telegraph back home, back to their father in Dayton, Ohio, and here's what it said. Success 4 flights Thursday morning, all against 21-mile-an-hour winds, winds started from the level with the engine power alone, average speed through the air 31 miles, longest 57 seconds, inform press, home Christmas. This is what they sent home, trying to tell their dad what's happening. Their sister Catherine got the note, took it down to the newspaper editor, and gave it to him. The newspaper editor read this and said, "Thank God the boys are going to be home for Christmas." Yes, the invention of the century, right? Human beings are in the air. I don't know if anybody in this room flies a lot. I don't know how it works. So I know there's a big metal tube we get in. I know it goes to the place we're supposed to go, and I just imagine in my head that God picks it up and puts it down, and that's how I get there safely. I'm from the South. I don't need to know the ins and outs of how it works like the Wright brothers, but I don't trust it all the time, I'll tell you that. So he overlooks the news of the century. Human beings, for the first time ever, are flying. And what he highlights is so sweet, but interesting. The boys are going to be home for Christmas. I tell you that story to emphasize what I think might be a problem within Christianity right now, is that we're really, really bad at interpreting our circumstances. We're really, really bad at highlighting the wrong things or the right things in the wrong area or order. And I think that can describe our cultural moment right now. I don't know if anybody watched the news the last couple weeks, but there's some stuff going on. Wars, bombings, bad guys, good guys, my party, your party. And then on our local level, just new jobs, moving, paying the bills, marriage changes, teenagers, those things. And we're all in this race called life, and I think we're misinterpreting the pace or the race that we're actually in, and I think we need to address it. So we're going to do that today. The boys are going to be home for Christmas. Let's take a look at our text today, and we'll address the problem of misinterpretation. Let's look at Hebrews 12, verses 1 through 3. Hebrews 12, verses 1 through 3. Therefore, since we are surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, let us throw off everything that hinders and the sin that so easily entangles. Let us run with perseverance the race marked out for us, fixing our eyes on Jesus, the pioneer and perfecter of our faith. For the joy set before him endured the cross, scorning its shame, and sat down at the right hand of the throne of God. Consider him who endured such opposition from sinners, so that you will not grow weary and lose heart. We're supposed to consider Jesus in all things. One issue that we have with our faith journey and trying to have unshakable faith is circumstantial faith. When our circumstances dictate whether we believe in God or not, or how strongly or not. It's when our faith hinges on our experiences, what happens or what doesn't happen. It's interesting. When things are good, job-wise, money-wise, family-wise, God is good. But when things are not good, God is not good. And we all struggle with this. We all struggle with it. And I struggle with it. I like to joke that I'm one good pinky toe stub away from questioning God's entire existence. You ever done that in the middle of the night? You get up to go to the bathroom, you hit your foot on something, and you're like, God, I've seen what you've done for others. Why don't you do it for me? But we're all there. We're all one situation away from being, God, are you legitimate? Is this real? Circumstantial faith is also comparative faith. And it's interesting because when we're comparing faiths or other people's seasons of life or their journey to or with Jesus, we always compare up and to the right? We don't compare the folks that are doing worse than us. We're always comparing of people who are doing better. Look how easy their course of life is. They've never had a speed bump in their whole life on their race in life, and I'm just speed bump after speed bump in this season. God, what are you doing? Are you really there? And I think it's a legitimate question. And it's one question that we're a few circumstances away from actually leaving the faith entirely if we're honest with ourselves. God, if you don't. And all of a sudden, God becomes a magical genie that only exists to make you happy and to give you what you want. Not a God of a relationship that he actually came to be. Comparison faith never compares the worst, right? It's always comparing highlight reels, and we get stuck in this loop of maybe we're doing something wrong even. That if things aren't going well for me, maybe it's a punishment actually. God is just a mean kid with a magnifying glass. We aren't meant to run this way. We actually can't function very long this way. When our faith is not in Jesus, it entangles us. And if faith based on anything else, that actually isn't faith, it's self-reliance. So to get to a place in our faith that we've never been, we're going to have to do things we've never done. And we have to face the reality that life is not consistent, nor will it ever be. Jesus said, in this world you will have trouble. But fear not, because I've overcome the world. And so whatever season we're in, it's probably going to look different than the season before or the season after. But it doesn't always have to be tied to our emotions and our circumstances where we get overly emotional or we hone in on this one thing. I think we can think of other stuff. But we're just not very good at interpreting our moment or our circumstances. And we miss the forest because of the trees. The race we're running feels like sometimes that it's 45% inclines uphill both ways and 17 inches of snow. Not now, sorry. Maybe next winter. But our faith doesn't have to waver. What if you could actually have a faith that other people know you for the guy or the gal with faith? I would love that. And we can learn to grow in interpreting the seasons appropriately, but it's going to take some work. Circumstantial faith is unstable. It's reactive, not rooted. Because every time there's a change, we change. Every time something goes wrong, we look up to God again. Every time something goes right, we forget that he exists. And it's always reactive, not rooted. And it reverses this biblical order of the way things and people are supposed to work. The biblical order is God promises something. We have faith that God promised it, so it'll come to fruition. And then we interpret our circumstances through that. But if we're not doing it in that order, if it's circumstantially led, it's circumstances first, interpretation of circumstances, and then we form our belief about God. And it's just backwards. And a lot of this is due to the word suffering. Nobody likes that word. I don't like that word. Our family is in a very interesting season right now of unknowns and unknowables. And on days it feels like suffering to me. Again, I'm more dramatic than my wife is. But it always causes me to get back to my knees. Say, God, if this is what you want, this is what you want. There's no arguing with you. But just remind me that you're there along the journey. Suffering comes for everyone, and we don't get to choose it. Whether it's cancer or criticism, it is coming for you. You will have days where you suffer. You will have long days. You will have hard days where you want to look up and say, God, where are you? I have a good buddy that was a quarterback for a small school called Carson Newman, and he had a career-ending injury where he got hit really hard and visited him in the hospital. I was really young in my faith, and I was like, man, how are you? Like, how are you making sense of this? Like, you're such a good guy. Like, why would God allow this to happen? And he said, Zach, that's not how it works. He said, sometimes God puts you on your back so the only way you can look is up. And I was like, oh, that hurts. Like, I know that's true, but it hurts. Suffering comes for everyone. And we don't choose how it comes. But here's the best news. Jesus took on your suffering by suffering. And if you're saying you're following him, the suffering Messiah, you might experience suffering too. It's not always going to be great and fun. So how do we do this? How do we keep faith in the middle of suffering or in the middle of circumstances we don't understand? What does it even look like to keep our eyes on Jesus? One classic example is the story of Abraham. It's told in a new lens through the book in Romans chapter 4, chapter 4, and it just summarizes their story, that essentially Abraham is old as dirt. God said that you're going to have offspring, you're going to have many nations, and Abraham, look, what's going on? But he's not weakened in his faith. He faced the fact that his body is old and dying, and that Sarah's womb was also dead. Yet he did not waver through unbelief. Yes, they went about it maybe a wrong way for sure, but the whole time Abraham said, I know that you're going to do this. I don't know how you're going to do this, but I know you're going to do this. And so faith interpreted the circumstances, not the other way around, and I think we have to be more like that. Tim Keller, famous evangelical pastor who ran a church in New York for years, had a long battle with cancer that he is now healed and with Jesus on the other side of this life. But he had this amazing quote about suffering. He said, suffering is meaningful if faced rightly. It can drive us like a nail deep into the love of God. And I think there's a place for it. Obviously, we get to relate to Jesus in his sufferings. We get to relate to Jesus when we need him. I think the reason our faith is so fickle, one reason is lack of opposition. And I know that's not fun to talk about. Let's say that. I'm not hoping for more opposition. I'm not saying you should go to some country where Christianity is illegal and go be persecuted on purpose. I am saying we don't need God for anything. If you don't need God for anything, who's actually God in your life? You are. You provide with a nice job, with nice money, with a nice house, with a nice family. You are responsible for all of your things. You're not reliant on God for actually anything. And so one beautiful thing that suffering does is it makes you reliant again. It reshifts your focus, and it's actually a beautiful thing that you find a deeper relationship with the Lord. Who needs faith? People who are going through situations that require it. You know the phrase, smooth seas never made a good sailor? I would argue that an easy life never made a faithful Christian. Part of suffering, trials, turmoil in life is to build your faith into God's promises, that they're actually real to you again. Because it's not real if you don't need it. To bulk up your faith and trust God, you need situations to be faithful and trustful in. James 1 says it like this, consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds. Because you know the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything. Not lacking anything. Why does this matter to God? Does God even care when I'm suffering? It feels like that sometimes. When you're on this journey and you're going through it and you feel so alone. Guys, the last month of my life, and I know that's not very long, I have never felt more alone than I feel right now. There's just stuff we're walking through that I don't know how to talk about other than the Lord. I've wept through books with my wife. I've wept through prayer. I've had really good friends come alongside me. And I've had a lot of people who feel like have forgotten. And it's a really hard situation. But I hold on to this promise in Psalm 34:18 that God is near the brokenhearted and crushed in spirit. He's not farther away. He's closer than ever. And here's the thing, God said he's never going to leave you or forsake you. And so if you feel like he's moving away, if you feel like he's distant, it might be that he actually hasn't wavered at all and that you have. Because he promises. He's never going to leave you or forsake you. And when we grieve and when we suffer and we're going through, it grieves the heart of God that he's near you, that he wants to be near you in these situations. Susanna Wesley, I've highlighted her before. She is the mother of John and Charles Wesley. She had 19 children. Talk about suffering. That poor woman. They asked her, Susanna, which of your children do you love the most? This is a great question, by the way. You guys can answer it out loud right now. Kids, close your ears. I'm kidding. You all know who it is. Which one of your children do you love the most? And she had a brilliant response. She said, the one that is lost, the one that's hurting, the one that's sick, the one that needs me the most. When issues arise and problems arise, God is not far off. He is more near than ever, but do you have eyes to see it? Like I said, I think we're bad at interpreting our circumstances. So what do we do? Hebrews tells us we're in this race, and this race is interesting. This race is supposed to be run with perseverance, and the race was marked out for us. Everybody's on a different race. We're all headed to the same direction, but it's marked out for us. What do you do in a race? Do we have any runners in the room that race? Yeah? A couple of people are a little shy, right? We know, we can hear the medals around your neck from your, Ragnar. You're wearing them to church again. I'm kidding. But when you're running a race, which area do you look? Where do you look when you're running a race? Straight. You look ahead. What happens if you run looking down? There's a telephone pole waiting on all of us. What about when you look backwards? Same. Even the hall of faith that Tim talked about beautifully last week, there's all of these people that have gone on before in the new heavens and new earth that are watching us and cheering us on. But even if you're looking at them, you're going to miss the race right in front of you that's marked out for you. There's so many pastors and people and heroes of the faith that I looked up to for so long that I just wanted to be like, and I wanted their race. I wanted to be like them. God's like, you're not them. You have your own race marked out for you. This is what you're supposed to be running. I'm convinced that we're not supposed to look down and get downcast in our circumstances, not look back at our previous ones, not look around at all the people surrounding us, cheering us on, but look forward at the person who's already completed the race. To gaze at Jesus and glimpse at everything else. To keep our eyes focused on him, fixing our eyes. This is what Hebrews 12 says, fixing our eyes on Jesus, the pioneer and perfecter of our faith. For the joy set before him, he endured the cross, scorning its shame, and sat down right at the right hand of God and the throne of God. The only way I can think to overpower my emotionalism and my circumstantial faith is to only look and gaze at the person who's already finished this race well. It helps in a race, too, to know your position. I think so many Christians have forgotten who they are and whose they are, and we've forgotten our position in the race. When you know your position in the race, you know if you can speed up or slow down, you know what to do and how to live this thing out. Our position, spiritually speaking, is already secure. If you've confessed with your mouth that Jesus is Lord, you are saved and you are good. And you can run your race. You can rely on circumstantial faith. You can do all that stuff because you're technically in the spiritual realm already at the finish line with Jesus. It's already been taken care of for you. You are saved. You are secure in that. But is it possible mentally that the race is easier if you know the ending? I think so. I've run a couple ultra marathons. I've tried. I'm not as cool as Tim. He's way cooler than me and way faster than me. But I've done a couple of them, and I'm telling you one thing. It'd be a lot easier if I knew that I was going to finish before I started. Right? I wouldn't have the pre-race nerves or pre-race bathroom activities. I would know and I'd be secure. I'm going to finish this. This is going to be great. And it means every bump on the race, every time I fall, every time I get lost on the trail, I already know the outcome. So it's less of a big deal to me. I'm less influenced by my circumstances because I know the ending. And our position, if you are with Jesus and you are saved by his name alone, is already on the top of the podium. So if we're doing so concerned, misinterpreting our situation, we are already sharing in his glory. I do believe there's this spirit of orphanhood and abandonment in Christianity right now. That we're fearfully and wonderfully made, and we forget that you were bought at a price, and that price was the blood of Jesus. And yes, you're still in the race. Yes, you still have a life to live, but the end is already in the bag. And we forget. And we're tossed back and forth by everything that happens on the news. By every war or threat of war. And we act like a bunch of people who don't know who we are. Christians right now are some of the most fearful people that I've ever met. I just don't think that should be so. You already know the ending. We know how it ends. So we have to stop racing like those who don't know the end. Stop racing like those who don't know who you are and whose you are. If your eye is on Jesus, and you see the end of the race is so much more easy. All of him, all of his glory, and being a co-heir with him in the new heavens and new earth. That's your future, that's your promise. And what so many who have gone before are experiencing right now. One of my favorite passages in the Bible is from the Apocalypse of John in Revelation 3. And this is such a little known verse, but it speaks of our position and it speaks back to our text today. And it says this, Revelation 3:21, Jesus gives John this picture. He says this, to the one who is victorious, I will give the right to sit with me on my throne, just as I was victorious and sat down with my Father on his throne. Can you imagine? Hebrews 12 tells us this, that he sat down at the right hand of the throne of God, and he says, that's yours. That's your inheritance with this whole deal. Yeah, you're on a race. Yeah, it's going to be hard. There's going to be seasons that are really great and seasons that are really hard. But at the end of this thing, I'm going to get to show you the whole picture. You get to sit with Jesus on his throne. Do we deserve that? Absolutely not. You're not going to do anything that is throne worthy. He did it all. You get to sit with him and see your race. See all the things he sees it through the eyes of the one you say you follow and the one you say you love. And there's no safer place than on Dad's lap. There's not. I have 4 feral boys, and they all want to be on my lap at the same time. And sometimes that is really annoying because they're fighting. Stop it, get out of here. But when I come home and I raise that garage door, all 4 of them are sprinting out to my car before I can get out. There's no safer place than with Dad. Do you know whose you are and who you are? There might be times to have unshakable faith. There might be times where instead of highlighting the crazy news in the world, you need to focus on the good news that the boys are coming home for Christmas. I believe we're in that cultural moment right now. There's so many awful news stories and bombing and death tolls rising, and there's lost faith, and there's people walking away from the faith. That we have to rely on each other. There's one demographic in this church that is so overlooked, and I'm not saying it's your church's fault, I'll just say the American church in general, is our older folks in this room. They don't think they have a purpose in church anymore. Their families are getting older and moving on. They are living witnesses and faithful people. If you have an issue, go talk to an older person about it. They have so much life and so much experience walking with Jesus longer than you have. They know more than you do. These are the people that have such vital roles in our church bodies. Listen, if you're an older person in this room and you don't think you have a role in this church, you are wrong, and that is not the voice of God over your life. We need you now more than ever. You have unshakable faith because you've been doing it. This is not your first, second, third, or fourth rodeo. You've been here for a while, and you've earned the right to be heard. And so we need to lean into these people. Have you ever tried to impress an older person? It is the most disheartening thing ever. This is not a knock on you guys at all, but if I were to call my grandpa right now, if I were to call Papaw from this stage and say, Papaw, I won the Nobel Peace Prize. You know what he's going to say? How are Megan and the boys doing? I'm like, I just won the Nobel. What do you mean? He's like, how are they doing? And he'll say, Zack, are you happy? He's like, if you're happy, I'm happy. I'm like, yeah, man, but be impressed with my stuff, you know? And it's the sweetest thing, and they're not trying to dumb down our achievements or anything. They just have way more life than we do. But nothing is really that big of a deal. They know whose they are and where they're going. They're secure in that. And so when you say, hey, you know what, I lost my job this week. I'm like, man, it's all right. One of the best responses I've heard from some older people in our church is, how exciting to see what God's going to do next. I'm like, that's fine. Yeah. I'm happy if you're happy. They have this unshakable faith, lived with Jesus, that's truly amazing, and I want to get there. I'm not there yet. I want to get there. I want to be a giant of the faith when I'm 80. Like younger people come up and be like, man, you got to go talk to Zack. That dude just trusts the Lord. If I make it to 80, by the way, I eat a lot of pizza and Pop-Tarts, so it's probably looking more like 70. I don't know. I turned 38 last weekend, and my buddy sent me this meme that said it's like halfway over now. You know, it's like the average age is 70-something, and so I guess I'm up the hill. I don't know. But how can we start this journey now? How can you be a giant of faith? It doesn't just happen. It does not just happen. And we all know there's 2 types of older people. There's the ones who love you, and I'm happy if you're happy, and I want to encourage you, and there's the other ones that say, get off my lawn. Here's the thing. Neither one of them got there after they retired. They got there the 40, 50 years before that. And so what does your future self look like if you keep on this course? If you keep relying on circumstances to dictate your faith or your reliance on the Lord? Can we start that journey now? I think we can. I'm going to give us some solutions here in a second. 2 Corinthians 4:16 through 18. This is Paul's letter to the church in Corinth, and I swear these verses are for to describe the mentality of our older folks in church. It says this, therefore we do not lose heart. Though outwardly we are wasting away, yet inwardly we are being renewed day by day. For our light and momentary troubles are achieving for us an eternal glory that far outweighs them all. So we fix our eyes not on what is seen, but on what is unseen. Since what is seen is temporary, but what is unseen is eternal. Oh, you lost your job? Oh, man, how exciting to see what God's going to do next. Focused on the end, focused on not what is seen, but what is unseen. I love it. Light and momentary affliction. Can we look at our circumstances this way if you were in the middle of a suffering season right now? Part of the application of this is an interesting word here that we use in the text in Hebrews 12. It says that for the joy set before him, he endured the cross. The joy, I've always struggled with that. The joy set before him. He was joyful. I'm not saying Jesus was necessarily happy. You remember the garden where he's with his friends and they're all asleep, and he's so stressed out that he's weeping blood. For the joy set before him, he endured the cross. Scorning its shame and sat down at the right hand of the throne of God. Consider him who endured such opposition from sinners, so that you will not grow weary and lose heart. When your eyes are on the prize, joy is the result, not happiness. You already know the end, right? So anything that comes between here and the end is circumstantial, not to be based on. Happiness is circumstantial. Joy is covenantal. You can be happy or sad on your race, totally. You have the freedom to do that, and God will meet you there. But it's not what the race is about being happy or being sad. Joy is having this deep contentment no matter the circumstances, because you already know the end. Joy is covenantal. Happiness is tied to what happens around you. Joy is rooted in what God has promised you. You will be with me. You get to see it from my throne. Sorrowful but rejoicing, because we can find joy in any circumstances. Christians are supposed to be the most joyful people on the planet. Not because of our circumstances, despite of them, because we know the end and we know where we're going. Joy isn't looking at past circumstances, it's finding Jesus in the current ones. I don't want you to ignore your circumstances. What I'm not saying today is all the things in your life, just forget about them. Eyes on the prize, forget everybody else. I'm not saying that at all. You have to be able to find Jesus in your circumstances. If you're going to have unshakable faith, you have to find joy. You have to have joy and find Jesus in them. And it's as simple as doing this. Jesus, where are you in my day today? I don't feel you. I don't see you. God, would you show up again? Prove to me that you're there again. I am so fickle. Please show me where you're at and help me get on board. Do you know who you are and whose you are? Are you secure? Are you one of those Christians who gets it, who's secure when the world is so insecure? We have to have this frame of mind. These are big questions. Why suffering? Why is this happening? Christians have the answers as well. You guys have the answer to the world's most vexing problem of what do I do with this? What am I supposed to do in this circumstance? Is hold fast to Jesus. You've been entrusted with your specific race. Run it well. Run it well. How can you see the prize without knowing the prize? You guys know. As Christians, we already know. So what situations are you in right now? What circumstances are overwhelming your race? And what's God calling you to be joyful in them? Maybe you're in a great season. Maybe you've been walking with the Lord for a while and you're just crushing it. You're not concerned about anything and you're awesome. Put your arm around someone in this church because they're not. Older couples, man, you've been married for a long time. I'm sure there's couples in this church that don't know if their marriage is going to last. Mentor them. Say, hey, our race is going strong. We're going to step aside in our race and bring you on this. We want to love you and we want to support you. There's parents who are struggling. There's people who don't even know what's going to happen tomorrow. There's people in this room that do. This is one body, many parts. This is our role, is to be for each other, in the good and in the bad. Can you champion someone? Can you remind them that they're already on the podium when it doesn't feel like it? I'm going to invite the band back up, and we're just going to pray for a second. If there's anything that you need to just let go of today, if you're just like, man, I am choosing happiness over joy. I need to be joyful. I'm not a joyful person. I'm not marked by that. I'm not marked by my faith. Let's give that stuff over to the Lord. And it's easy as this. It's just a positional thing. I think our position when we pray and we approach the Lord matters. You just have your hands open. If you need to surrender something today, it is so stinking hard. Trust me, I get it. But there's someone who's already finished the race for you. And that should give you a lot of hope. No matter what happens between the start of your race and the end of their race, there's a God who loves you. He's going to use the good, bad, ugly, and pretty for your good and for his glory. Let's pray. God, thank you so much for the hard seasons. When we don't know what's going to happen next, God, would you forgive us when we're so fickle? Forgive us when we don't grieve correctly, when we ignore it, when we interpret it wrong, when we blame you. God, we know you're near the brokenhearted and crushed in spirit. Would you be near us now? Would you hold our head up when we can't hold our own head up? You hold our future. You came to give us life and life to the full. We want to experience that with you. That doesn't mean happy, it means joyful. Would you help us be joyful? I can't imagine what would happen. A room full of joyful Christians this size would change the world forever. It would change our families and it would change generations, God, if we choose an unshakable faith versus a circumstantial one. Help us see you in spite of our circumstances. Provide for us in a way that only you can. Give us that picture of what it's going to look like to sit on the throne with you. Give us hope and a future. Help us not take that lightly, God. And I pray for all the folks that are just cruising with you, that are in such a sweet, healthy season, they would reach out and love someone who's not. Invite them over for dinner or coffee. And just love on them, God. Jesus, we trust you. We love you. We pray this in your name because there's power in your name. Amen.